Ladies and gentlemen, today I will be showing you a very exciting game from the 2015 World Chess Championship of Blitz Chess. Now, have you ever blundered a checkmate in one move? Yeah, we all have. I've done it. You've probably done it 100 times. Those are great when it happens to our opponents and we find it and win the game. Well, Magnus Carlsen, the GOAT, right, was playing a game against Vasil Ivanchuk. It's a very, very strong Ukrainian grandmaster. And it was a super wild and complicated game right up until the end, when Magnus made a move that essentially blundered checkmate in one, and his opponent was so excited to play it that he jumped out of his chair. I am not exaggerating. I will share with you the game, and we will also take a look at the live footage courtesy of the Norwegian live TV channel that was there. So enjoy the game, enjoy the live footage, and yeah, even the best players in the world blundered checkmate in one move. Here we go. So we pick up this game with Magnus playing d4 and Vasil Ivanchuk playing knight to f6. Bishop g5 from Magnus is the Trempowsky opening. And this is one of my personal favorites. It gets a lot of people who want to play Indian defenses out of book. What that means is people who want to play the Nimso Indian, Grunfeld or King's Indian openings, or God knows what else, Bogo Indian, Bozo Indian, Old Indian. There's a lot of different openings, Budapest Gambit. Get all that out of the way, and you just play the move bishop g5. And inherently, the idea of the move bishop g5 is that if you are able to damage black's pawns, you're happy, and then you will put a pawn on the dark square, develop, life is good. Ivanchuk plays the most combative approach, which is the move c5. Immediately counterattacking white's center, trying to get the queen out this way to pressure white's queen side, and other various things. White can take now, but personally, I like to go here and sort of make black decide what to do. So if black comes here, sometimes I slide back, but in the past I've also played the Raptor variation, which is one of my favorites. And the idea is basically to give up the bishop, but you open up the rook. Like, you open up the rook to the extent that you can even play moves like g6, which is a very, very fun idea that damages black's structure tremendously and leaves, you know, massive holes here. So d5 is one fun idea. There's also a gambit here where queen b2, bishop d2, and so on and so forth. But Magnus plays bishop takes f6. And the idea of bishop takes f6 is, of course, to damage black's pawns. You either do this, and black lacks an e-pawn, and then you can go here, and it's just, black is just tough developing. Or black can take with the g-pawn, which is what Ivanchuk went for. It's a totally imbalanced position. So what is the imbalance? White has given up a bishop for a knight, dark squared bishop for a knight, and black damaged their structure. The h-pawn is weak. The rook is going to have an open file. The bishop might come out this way. What should white do now? Well, if white traded off a dark squared bishop, white should probably go here, and then here, and then here, and then just be rock solid on the dark squares. No, Magnus plays d5. And now queen b6 is an immediate attack on the b2 pawn, and Magnus plays queen c1. See, if Magnus played b3, that would be a massive weakening of the dark squares over here. We don't want that, all right? That's too much. It's like Swiss cheese. Now, queen c1, there are very fun ideas for black to immediately take advantage, which is bishop h6. One of them is bishop to h6, which is just a completely ridiculous move. The queen can take, but then queen b2, and, you know, white is going to lose all their pieces. So normally after bishop h6, you would play e3, but Ivanchuk plays f5. f5 has a couple of ideas. You want to go here, you want to open up the diagonal, you want to prevent white from playing e4, for instance. This is just something you need to think about. So f5, c4, and now d6. What's going on? Why would white give up a dark squared bishop and basically put no pawns on dark squares? Like, what is happening here? How does this make, why this, but the dark squared bishop is now going to be a monster? Well, as it turns out, and as you can see from the computer, it's fine. I mean, we're breaking certain principles of the game of chess, but it is what it is, right? Like, who's gonna complain, right? It's Magnus. When you do this, I yell at you and I tell you you have no idea how to play positional chess. Then you tell me I have a receding hairline and you don't listen to random strangers on the internet. And I would tell you, okay, that's fine. And then we would have this random internet conversation in a YouTube video. When Magnus does this, it's like, oh, we gotta pay attention, right? He's creating imbalance. So knight c3, knight d7, and already here, Stockfish is trying to put its mark on the game. It wants to tell you how to play, it wants to tell you what's the optimal developmental setup. For instance, if I told you to play f3 here, you would immediately understand that that's not a good move. Maybe you wouldn't, that's fine. Maybe you're 500 elo and you just like watching my videos, and every now and then you play some chess on chess.com, and you don't really care too much about color complexes or improving. You just like the sound of my voice. You like my chess videos. You like Magnus Carlsen videos. Tremendous, no problem. F3 is not a good move. Why? Weakens the king. Does not allow the knight to go to its natural developing square. Does it lose the game? Absolutely not. That's why the evaluation of Stockfish is negative 0.5. But it's not a good move. So Magnus plays g3 to try to get his bishop to g2. The computer here wanted him to go here. Not for reasons you would think. You would think that after bishop g7, it wants him to develop the bishop, but it doesn't, because if you develop the bishop, you get hit. What it wants is for white to put the knight on e2 and the knight on g3, and then the bishop like this. That's what the engine thinks is the most optimal setup of pieces for the white position. However, Magnus does this. Why? Because he wants to put his bishop on g2 and his knight out like this. And before he puts his bishop out on g2, he does this. Why does he do that? Well, he probably was like, if I go here, Ivanchuk goes here. I don't like that. His bishop is too strong. His queen is too strong. I'm going to make a move that prevents him from going knight e4. The move knight e2 prevents him from going knight e4, because if he goes knight e4, then I'm going to take and take, right? I got two things controlling that. Now this, now this. Life is good. And since now Ivanchuk cannot play the move knight to e4, he plays the move knight to e4. Well, that's certainly an unwelcome surprise, right? When you specifically set up your position in such a capacity that prevents your opponent from making a move, and then they make that move immediately. And not only do they make the move, it actually turns out to be the best move. Some of you may be wondering why I'm talking so fast in this video. I'm going to be completely honest with you. It's because I had an iced coffee at about 5 p.m. The second reason why I'm talking is I'm very mad. Do you know why I'm very mad? I recorded this video for 20 minutes. 20 minutes! And the file was corrupted. I've actually already recorded this entire video and had to delete the file because there was a corruption with the way it's saved. I'm mad. I'm mad, so I'm trying to generate that and funnel that anger into a better production for all of you. And that's what I encourage you to do. Don't let your anger be destructive. I mean, make no mistake. I yelled multiple times when I realized that recording was corrupted. I was very mad. But that's why I'm talking very fast. Caffeine jolt from the anger of talking about this exact game for 20 minutes already. This was already recorded. But no problem. You like the energy. I like that you're watching right now. So let's have this moment together. Magnus cannot actually take the pawn on e4 because the bishop on g7 will hit the pawn on b2, along with the queen on b6 will hit the pawn on b2. That will be a fork, will lead to a devastating loss of material for the white pieces. Bishop g2. Now, you can defend this pawn by doing this. You can also defend the pawn by going here. The idea of queen to b4 is that you're pinning the knight, but you're also attacking this. The only way that white can guard this is by going here. And as you can see from the eval bar, that would lead to more problems because it removes the defense of the knight on c3. Then I take. Not only do you lose a knight, you also lose a rook. Is it better to lose a pawn or a knight and a rook? It's better to lose a pawn, which is why Magnus goes here and this. And again, a very fun moment here. Bishop c3 does not lead to the loss of the bishop because you can take and attack the rook. The board is a big place. So in this position, Ivanchuk plays the move h5. And if you have a friend or somebody that you play chess against and they're early castlers, they like to castle early, as you get a little bit better at chess, you can kind of break the rules. Not like cheat. Not like, you know, en passant your opponent's pieces and not their pawns or whatever. Principles. You can break principles. You don't always have to castle if you can launch pawns at your opponent like this. If they castled their king, you can castle the opposite way. You can wait for an opponent to castle. So Ivanchuk is going to castle. He puts his bishop out, and we have this. Now, folks, someone's going to lose. Why is somebody going to lose when the evaluation says it's basically equal? Well, they castled on opposite sides, and it's a speed game. Everything about this game is imbalance. Everything. Imbalance of playing styles. I mean, Ivanchuk is a super wild guy, loves attacking. Bishops versus bishop knight. Opposite side castling. When you compare the quality of pieces in opposite side castling, you got to think about pawn storms. And black's pawn storm is much more violent than white's pawn storm. This pawn will open up the white king. The bishops are going to stare at the white king. The diagonals are open at the white king. The only pawn break that Magnus really has here is the move b4, and he is miles away from achieving that because he has to deal with this pressure, right? This pressure. So he plays rook b1. Ivanchuk plays rook g8. King b8 first, and then rook g8. So both guys are preparing openings of their positions. Queen e3, bishop f6, knight to e4, simultaneously getting out of the way of the queen and the bishop, and also threatening this and b4. Now, in this position, you would think that black now will just step on the gas, f5, right? Ivanchuk here plays such a high-level move, and it's such a classy move. What's the best move for black here? I mean, I've been talking about attacking one another, pawn storm, opening up the position, but what's the best move here for black? What is the best move? The best move is queen takes a2. Queen takes a2. Why? Why is queen takes a2 the best move? Because it's a free pawn. Because nothing changes. You take a pawn, and it doesn't come with a lot of risk. How do you determine in chess when a move has no risk? It's all about what the opponent can do to you. Checks, captures, attacks, the most devastating types of threats to you. There's no checks to this king. No capture makes any sense. Can you attack the queen? Yes, then I take this pawn too. I'll take the second pawn, to go, in the bag, sauce on the side, and make sure to tip your delivery drivers, because if you don't, you're a terrible person. Maybe tipping culture is not normal where you live. Here you should tip. Queen b2, and black is up 2 pawns. So Ivanchuk, in the middle of his attack, hits the pause button, goes that way, and takes a pawn, and is just the pawn up now with all the benefits of the position that he had previously. Rook f8, and here comes Magnus with b4. That's it. Gloves are off, grabbing each other's collars, skating on the ice. Bam! Bam! Throw, and not those stupid hockey fights where, like, they pull the jersey and the... No, the real ones where they're both landing punches. Bishop e5, queen e3, and now Ivanchuk has a situation where if either of these pawns takes the other, the white rook will now be able to see the pawn in front of the black king. And Ivanchuk doesn't want that. He does not want Magnus to be able to see the rook in front of his king. So Ivanchuk plays this move. So now Magnus's rook has to see the pawn in front of the pawn that's in front of the king. So the rook is useless. White is going to have to go here and attack on the A file or battering ram the B pawn. And not to mention, in all endgames, Ivanchuk now has a pass pawn. So, knight c3, queen a6, rook c8, and here's essentially the situation. Whenever black's f-pawn arrives over here, it will ruin this position. Once it ruins this position, the white king will succumb to the pressure. Magnus tries to create a little bit of counterplay by doubling his rooks on the A file. Ivanchuk just goes here. Why there? Because if he went like here, this could actually lead to some problems. Giving up the queen could actually be very, very bad for him. So he goes a6. And I told you a long time ago, the move that was going to essentially decide the game when it was ready to arrive was f5. That's it. Essentially, Ivanchuk is now knocking on the door. The rent is 3 months late, and the eviction notice is going to be served. If it was the old days, it would be much worse than that, mafia movie style. That's it. The white king is about to get butchered. Bravely, Magnus captures the pawn. That pawn was not free. All right, that pawn was not free. And he tries to fight back, but f4 is far more devastating because you can get that, but I'm going to get that. And when I get that, I'm getting that, and then I'm getting that, and it's over. Pawn takes, bishop takes, queen to e1. And now, I'm not even going to talk about the moves yet. I am going to show you live footage from the playing hall. Shout out to the Norwegian TV channel. Don't copyright strike me. You guys are great. I'm going to show you live footage from the playing hall. Enjoy. So it's a super tense moment. Low time. Ivanchuk takes on g3. Magnus recaptures. Ivanchuk drops the rook into the white position. Magnus can't believe it. He's got like no time, hesitating up, down with the hand. And ultimately, he slides the queen out of the way, but it blunders queen g1. And Magnus can't believe it. He stands up and resigns. Ivanchuk jumped out of his seat when he saw that move was possible. Look at him. Queen d2, and look at Ivanchuk. Boop, and boop! Oh my goodness, and that's the end of the game. And we'll analyze it in a moment. It just literally basically blundered a total checkmate. Not in one move, but basically in one move. The next move would have been a mate in multiple ways. So Ivanchuk beats Magnus. He has to sign the score sheet. Shout out to Norwegian TV, by the way, for this awesome footage. And the funniest thing about all of this was what came next. So Norwegian TV was live there, and they actually followed Magnus out of the playing hall. I can't help but laugh at this clip. They didn't mean it this way, but it's like the walk of shame. Like, hey, you blundered mate. Hey, what's up, man? Hey, Magnus, how do you feel about blundering mate in one, dude? Like a little South Park episode. And they actually walked with him all the way to the elevator lobby. They walked with him. He pressed the elevator button, and he got in. And I mean, it was like TMZ style, totally. And then he, presses the button here, and he's like, hey, can you please leave? Thank you. He's like, all right, yeah, goodbye now. I'm going to punch that mirror in the elevator. It's just funny stuff. So he blunders live, and I'm going to show you exactly what happened now on the analysis board. So in this position, Ivanchuk, actually, the best move was to go back. Ivanchuk didn't play that. The best move was to go back. The white queen is overloaded for defense, and black is winning. Instead of that, Ivanchuk played bishop takes g3, which is just a very natural-looking move. And it's not the best move because f takes g3, rook f1, Magnus now can sacrifice his queen. So, as it turns out, Magnus can go here, and believe it or not, there is no more attack. If black plays queen e3, I go here, and by some miracle of the chess gods, white is not only holding, white is winning. Because Ivanchuk just invested too many pieces. Bishop g3 was wrong, and he's actually on the verge of throwing away the attack. Now, Magnus definitely saw queen takes rook, but Magnus went, wait a minute, I can go here because there is no rook g1 because the rook takes. If queen d2, rook takes, I take back, and queen d2 covers f2. And so Magnus went here. But what he forgot about is that queen d2 literally blunders checkmate. Technically in 2 moves, but it essentially blunders the mate now. It's not rook g1. It's the queen coming down. Game over. Queen g1, the only legal move is king to h3. This is mate. That's mate. And there's also mate if you delay it by a move. So queen to g1, the final move, the dagger, the absolutely unbelievable mistake. Queen g1, anything happens in blitz, but it's so wild that Ivanchuk actually hit a brick wall. But because the momentum of the game was so much in his favor already, Magnus, instead of just calming his nerves here and playing queen f1, goes here, and devastation because queen g1 is game over, lights out. On the spot, blunders made, game ends. So a crazy, crazy game. Wild footage there from the playing hall, how they followed Magnus into the elevator. But Norwegian TV is actually far ahead of their time. They are essentially the only nation that like fully invested in a player. Yes, of course they have the world champion, but they always have media at all these events. No other nation really covers chess the way Norway does. So despite the footage being kind of humorous and, you know, them following him after a loss, massive credit to them. And yeah, nothing but good things to say about the way Norwegian TV has covered Magnus's games over the years. But this one, crazy. Even the best players in the world can blunder a checkmate essentially in 1 move. That's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Now get out of here.